Hello, so today is a great day for TFT. Why? Because I'm back to playing the patch. It's a new patch, and I've decided that, even though some of the bugs that really annoy me aren't fixed in the game, I'm still gonna play it because I need to make content for you guys to teach you guys what to play and stuff like that. So, I don't want my YouTube channel to just go to waste and just, like, not play because I'm a bit angry a little bit. But new patch, it's patch day. And what am I gonna play today? It's gonna be a Kalista game. I know, very anticlimactic, but the nerfs to Kalista weren't that big, like to the Kalista comp, weren't big enough to make it not very viable. Now, of course, take this with a grain of salt. On the first day of a patch, a lot of times, when things get buffed or nerfed, a lot of times you'll see them played a lot, and they'll still do well, just because everybody kind of knows how to play them really well, and it's really hard to, like, figure out the other boards off rip, especially if it's, like, developing the meta. So, I kind of, when I made the if you're here from either the Orn Artifact Guide or if you're here from the guide for the patch note review. For the patch note review, I'm always very soft when I talk about those more generic guides, because I don't want them to come across as like very like spiteful and like with a lot of resentment to the patch and stuff like that, and like this doesn't do anything, this won't do anything, right? I want to make it very like, hey, this is a positive change, this will help the meta, ideally this translates to this happening, right? I saw the changes to Rakan Kalista, and I didn't think it was that significant because that comp was so fucking ridiculous that you were winning by like the fight would end and Rakan would have 100% HP, right? So if you nerf the Rakan healing, it's like, yes, it's gonna help the comp be not as strong, but like before the patch, he was at 100 HP in most fights, right? So like, put into perspective, it's like, it's still gonna be playable. So this is gonna be a Kalista game. The strat still with this patch a little bit is kind of like you open into Kalista. This one's gonna be different from the last one I posted though, because I'm getting a Faerie crest here, which is actually really cool. So I actually get to play 7 Faerie Kalista, which I didn't show on this channel yet. So I decided, hey, it's gonna be a little bit different than last time, so I might as well show it to everybody here. This was played today, so I did my little grind. I just made it to Masters. Yay, yippee. Now I can just experiment and play different comps, because the best way to climb right now, I'm not sure if it's going to stay this way. I want to be very clear about that. I'm not sure if it's going to stay this way for the entire patch. But right now, if you want to gain LP really fast and you want to climb really hard, you should be playing Kalista as many games as possible, right? Almost every game you should be playing Kalista. A lot of the augments and a lot of the augment choices that are really strong because you play Kalista with them, right? Like Faerie Crown doesn't really do that much. 5 Faerie Kalista is very strong. 7 Faerie Kalista is very strong. Kalista Rakan is just still very, very dominant. Until we see a little bit of a shift, maybe slight way through the patch, maybe after a couple days, especially if there's a B patch, we'll see some other comps rise up, of course. But until then, it's probably play Kalista. So this is part of me grinding to get better, like, to gain the LP that I didn't get by not playing the last 2 weeks. So, obviously today, if you go to my VOD on my stream, I was playing a lot of Kalista. But that's just like the strat, right? That's just the way it is. I haven't been talking about it that much, but I think everybody's fed up with it. I made one Kalista video, and it has my lowest watch time, my lowest viewer retention, and it has the most dislikes. So every single YouTube metric that could exist is the worst out of all the last 20 videos on my Kalista video. But it is what it is, so I'm going to make another Kalista video. Hopefully this one does a little bit better. I'm sure it won't, but I'm incentivized to make it just because I feel like if you're actually trying to learn how to play the game, this is something you just have to know how to do. You just have to know how to exercise this muscle, because that's the way you're going to rank up. So we're making another Kalista video. So be it. If my channel dies, my channel dies. Let it be. The patch is what the patch is, and I'm not particularly proud of it. I'm not particularly happy with it, but it is what it is. Anyways, that being over, this was kind of the intro. I've just been kind of talking around. I took Faerie Crown, so I am very much forcing into Kalista. If you look at this early game, what I'm doing is I'm trying not to win that much, right? I'm just playing towards trying to lose as many rounds as possible here. A lot of times what you do when you play Kalista is something called open fort, right? Open fort just means like you just open up and let everybody attack you. There's no defenses that you have set up. It's just to make sure that you lose, because you want priority pick on the carousel, right? If you look at this spot, you might look and you might think, hey, you don't have a bow, you don't have a Gwinsu, why are you playing Kalista? Well, if I lose the first couple rounds, it gives me 2 benefits, right? I gain a bunch of gold, right? So I'll say it. Like, what you want to do is you want to lose streak first, right? Oh my god, it's so messy. Right, you lose streak, right? When you lose streak, what are you going to get? You're going to get a... Oh my god, I'm struggling here. What are you going to get? You're going to get gold, because you can easily make yourself a loss streak. And you're going to get priority on carousel. Right, that's the big one. Right, so on carousel, you just get your bow. Now, there is another guy that was completely open, which made things a little bit hard for me in this particular game. But basically, you want to be first pick on... if you're playing Kalista, a lot of times you want to be first pick on carousel. So you want to be somewhere down here. You want to lose these first 3 rounds. After that, it doesn't matter that much, but you want to lose these first 3 rounds. Now here, it's a little bit unfortunate, but it works out anyways because the people that are playing the game right now aren't playing Kalista in my lobby. So I just want this bow first, right? So you want to give yourself the greatest chance of getting a bow because you need a Gwynsu on Kalista. So I'm just going to show up until now, just finding my items. Let's see. Bang, we get the bow. We're good to go, right? Now I'm going to show you the Kalista board just in general so you can figure out exactly how to play around it. So team builder. So let's go here and let's go stats. Now the main way that you play Kalista, usually it is Rakan, Kalista. We'll just put a Milio and then Zillion, Jax, Lilia, what's his name, Hecarim. I'm just putting in everybody, and then the last person is one more Faerie unit, so usually it is Katarina. This is what your board always looks like, right? So what you're going to do is you're basically going to get the 2 extra items. So you're going to get the Faerie crown, which you're going to put on Kalista, and you're going to get the Faerie armor, which you're going to put on Rakan. And then with Rakan, there's lots of different items you could put on Rakan. Rakan scales really, really well with shielding as well as AP. But a lot of times, I'll do something like this, right? You'll usually try and put double Gwynsu on Kalista, and then an even shroud on Rakan or another unit. After that, your items are pretty okay, because you can put basically any item on Rakan and it's good enough. And you try and build towards this type of board, right? The reason this board is so strong is with 5 Faerie, you get these 2 extra items. So it works really well for item economy. Even if the items aren't that strong, having extra items is a very good thing to have in a trait. It just makes you significantly stronger in a lot of cases. Kalista scales really well off her auto attacks. And the more attacks that she does, she then embeds and she does like extra damage to nearby enemies. So she has a little bit of like an AoE effect to her, and with more auto attacks, it also greatly increases her damage. A lot of times, Kalista can also rend and kill units randomly, which is very, very strong, especially if the fight goes on very long. So double Gwynsu is very, very strong. If you don't have double Gwynsu, you can change one of the Rage Blades for a red buff or some other bow item that gives you attack speed. Sometimes you would make a Last Whisper if you don't have an even shroud. That's also okay. It's just double Gwynsu is just better in a lot of cases. This Rakan basically, no matter what, is going to be unkillable. And this is the board that you typically will play. Now, I say typically, if you do not play the, also, sorry, I should mention one other thing. When you go to level 9, you basically just play an extra preserver in the form of Morgana. This comp relies on stalling around the Rakan being hard to kill and then the Kalista Gwynsu stacking, right? That's why the double Gwynsu is very effective. When you get to level 9, a lot of times you're playing Morgana, and then you can swap out some of the units. So for example, Jax, instead of Jax, you can play Camille. Because Camille gives multi-striker, and you're playing either Camille or Jax because it gives Chrono. Chrono also gives healing to your board. Because 2 Chrono, your whole team will heal 20% of their HP. So this is typically what your board looks like. When you level, you just play an extra Preserver. If you have like a Katarina 3, sometimes you play Warrior. This is something that I was doing before, right? If you roll down on level like 8, for example, and you hit like a Fiora 2 for free, and you have items for Fiora, sometimes you run into a situation where you have a lot of AD items and you don't have good tank items. Then you can play Fiora. I did that in the last video that I played. But as you can see, this is the 5 Faerie threshold. 7 Faerie doesn't do that much more. As you can see, it gives a very small amount of damage amp. It's only 5%. It gives 200 more HP, which is pretty significant. But the main thing that 7 Faerie gives you is a second crown. The second crown is pretty useless unless you have like a Katarina 3 or some really, really strong unit to put it on. Typically the extra crown is not that good. Just because like the last unit you don't have items for and it's usually useless. That's why 7 Faerie isn't that important. If you are playing 7 Faerie, sometimes you drop multi-striker, which feels really, really bad. But a lot of times your board will look something like this. You'll have to drop Preserver and multi-striker in order to play around having the extra Faerie units in to hit 7 Faerie, right? At least on level 8. It's very difficult to fit in everybody. Sorry, it's not Lilia, it's Seraphine, right? If you have, like, this is 7 Faerie. If you have a Faerie +1, then you can still fit in multi-striker. You just can't fit in Preserver. So multi-striker is usually a little bit more important, and you'll do something like Jax, and you'll put like the Faerie emblem on one of your frontline units, either the Hecarim, typically the Hecarim, or if you have a Camille, you put on Camille. And this is what your 7 Faerie board looks like, and then you have to level for Zillion to give you the Chrono and the thing. So you're just playing one less Preserver. It's a little bit awkward though. One less Preserver. A lot of times 5 Faerie is stronger than 7 Faerie, because unless you have Katarina 3-star or something like really good to put your item on, or if you have Camille 2, for example, the extra Faerie crown doesn't matter that much. But it's basically the same board, except you just play one less Preserver until you make it to level 9, and you hope that the 7 Faerie kind of carries you. You can also play like 2 less Faerie units, right? If you don't want to play both of these, you can play 5 Faerie and then just play a bunch of Preservers. This is usually really a high roll, because a lot of times it relies on you having a Morgana, because you lose a little bit of frontline without having the Katarina. So like if you high roll into a Morgana, then you can play something like this, because the Faerie crown doesn't matter that much. And if you can so 5 Faerie with the extra Preservers is going to give you a little bit more value a lot of the time. Just another variation that you can do with a Faerie at +1. So let's go back to the game. So here I took Final Ascension. So as you can see, I high rolled into my Guinsoo, quote unquote nudge nudge. I just got a Guinsoo off the carousel. Now that we're back to the game, you're just going to see it's going to be a very basic game for the most part. Because I'm very rich, because I basically lost streaked and I kept a bunch of gold. At 50 gold, level 6, I'm in a really, really good spot. So I am just going to try and tempo level and try and make sure that I am as strong as possible, and then set myself up for a level 8 roll down. I'm buying some charms if they seem like they're good value. So that one, for example, it can give me either gold or it can give me rerolls. Both are fine. But as you can see, I'm just playing around 5 Faerie for my mid game. I'm playing Blaster with the Tristana. Tristana is a great item holder because she really likes to use a Guinsoo as well. So it's very great to put a Guinsoo on a Tristana for early game. I'm setting myself up for another bow item, so I'm either going to make a second Guinsoo or I'll make something else. And as you can see, I made Even Shroud from early game. So Even Shroud, Faerie Crown is going to be what I'm going to play on my Rakan, and I'm basically just going to play around this. This is typically how your games are supposed to go. Ideally, sometimes you lose a lot more rounds. But ideally, you're basically losing most of stage 2. You're kind of low on HP, but then you turn it around at the end, right? So I lost basically like 4 or 5 rounds in a row. I made a bunch of money. I'm now level 6 with almost 70 gold. I'm going to be in a very, very good spot to roll down on level 8 because I'm just rich this game. I think it was some, I forget if it's like Scuttle Puddle or Loot Sub, but it was some gold drop, right? Either on Krugs or something else. Excuse me. So it really benefited me. But in this case, as you can see, I should be fine for most of the game now. Sometimes you run into the problem where you're going to be a lot lower HP because you just lose a lot of the mid-game fights as well. This one worked out because I have Faerie +1. If you don't have Faerie +1, you're playing around Kalista. Sometimes in the middle of the game, your board is very, very weak. The thing about Kalista is that it's so fucking broken that a lot of times you're like fine to just like sit and like lose every single round and then like worry about things later. I just took it's high value, the rod there, because I get the Katarina as well. So now I have double Guinsoo for my Kalista. I just need to worry about making one other Rakan item because I made Even Shroud for Rakan. So I just Even Shroud, Faerie Armor, and then one other item for Rakan. And I'm just going to level here. I know I lose 1 gold, but it's only 1 gold, and I'm trying to win streak, so it makes sense for me to level. Ideally, if there's like a really strong board, I win still, and I keep my streak. My board has a lot of 1-stars though, so it's a little bit awkward. I might easily lose to this guy, for example, which would suck, but you know, that's why we push the level to give us the best chance of continuing to streak. Because 40 gold to 50 gold is not that big of a deal, right? It's basically like a 1 gold difference, right? You lose, like technically the gold is exponential that you lose, but winning the round is way more important in a lot of cases, right? Like this round, that might have been a level diff. So winning this round and keeping my 4 streak makes up for the fact that I lost 1 gold pushing the level. This is where the game kind of high rolls. You can see I zoomed in. I was on stream and I was like, okay, you know what? I was bitching a lot in the last game. This game's kind of insane. Because I hit a Rakan as well as a Kalista. So that's how you know that this game you're kind of playing for first. Is what I would say. I'm 7 Faerie on level 7 already. You know, there's lots of ways that I can cap out this board really high. Obviously, if I hit 9 Faerie, that's like an instant win in a lot of cases. But I could probably just stay on level 8 for a while, because I'm probably going to try and hit a Katarina 3, ideally. If I don't hit Katarina 3, I'll kind of decide what else I can play, but we'll see. But yeah, this is like very, very strong, right? I opened a shop on level 7 to the exact 2 units that I needed. So, you know, don't get too angry at me. I assure you that I've had plenty of low roll games. I just played a Kalista game and I went 5th because I got scammed in 3 different fights because of RNG. Like, it was, you know, trust me, I've low rolled enough. I went 8th the game right before this. That 8th was like fucked. There was no hope. It was just a guaranteed 8th from the start. It was one of those fucking scuttle puddle games. Sorry, it was a loot sub game, and everybody had fucking Exodia. It was like fucking unreal. So, you know, it is what it is. So please don't hate me for hitting a Kalista early one time, because, you know, it very rarely happens. Let me enjoy this one, you know, please. I should transfer the items over to the Rakan from this guy. It's not that big. We get a support item and an artifact anvil. This was just like a high roll game, like like one of those like crazy games. Here it's I need a Rakan item ideally, so the only Rakan item I can find was suspicious trench coat. Suspicious trench coat has like an opportunity to be like crazy game winning type of board, but in most cases it's good enough for a frontline item. You just put it on one of your frontline units. It makes 3 copies of them. Pretty fucking good, right? I need to move the Faerie armor onto the Rakan. Oh, this is rough. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I was just a little bit slow. I made Crown Guard. Crown Guard was a mistake because I wanted Even Shroud on him. I guess I'm going to Even Shroud somebody else. I guess Crown Guard works really well, actually. Never mind. Crown Guard is way better with Suspicious Trench Coat. I think that's what I was thinking in my head. Right? Usually you put Even Shroud on Rakan because Rakan lives forever. But I didn't want to put Even Shroud on Rakan here because with Trench Coat, the Crown Guard is going to proc a second time. Right, so when you split into 3 separate entities with the trench coat, then Crown Guard basically resets it's once per battle effect resets. So then all 3 of those little Rakans are going to get the health shield as well as the AP payout. Here I hit Little Buddies. Little Buddies is very good with this comp, especially because I'm playing 7 Faerie. Because I'm playing 7 Faerie, I am going to be playing a lot of low-cost units, so they are going to all give a bunch of HP and attack speed to my Rakan and my Kalista, and eventually my Camille. So this is very, very good. I double-checked because Support Golem is also very good. It's very, like, you can just take it whenever. But in this case, it's very clearly Little Buddies. And it's mostly because I'm playing the 7 Faerie variation, so I'm going to be playing like these 1-cost units for a while. And 2-cost units, right? 3 Little Buddies, maybe 4. I'm trying to build my board. Hitting Rakan is way more important than hitting Kalista, by the way. A lot of times you can kind of chill out if you have just a Kalista one, and you don't have like the Rakan and everybody else upgraded. And then I found a Diana. So I don't have Hecarim in, so I don't have Multi-Striker right now. I also didn't hold on to a Jax, which is a little bit unfortunate, so I have to kind of fix my board up a little bit. Multi-Striker is very important on Kalista, by the way. Don't think that you can get by without playing Multi-Striker. It does a lot, especially if you're double Guinsoo. It can really, really sway some of the fights, because if she auto-attacks 3 times and then she gets like extra stacks because of it, it's huge. And then also it has like this ramping effect where you get more Multi-Striker procs with the more auto attacks that you've already done, because she just keeps attacking faster and faster, so all of the things work out. It just works out to a lot more damage, right? But anyways, I try and fix my board up a little bit. I have this Tahm Kench. It's a little bit weird to play around right now. Also, I didn't mention that I took Locket as my support item. I just wanted something to make my front line as tanky as possible. I bought a Charm, and as you can see, we're not rolling to 0 here. I know that I have a Kalista, but I'm not Kalista paired, right? There's nothing to roll for right now. Yes, I can roll for Hecarim and Multi-Striker, but my board is somewhat stable, and I just want to like hold on to the bank a little bit. Diana's really, really strong. I think if you look at the damage reports, the Diana's doing almost as much damage as the Kalista. It's just because the way Diana does damage is she does AoE, and then also having Even Shroud, she gives like everybody basically gets sundered, which is really, really nice. She just does a lot of damage. She does a lot of work, so we're really happy with that. Really happy to play Diana, so we don't have to roll that much, right? If we had like, you know, if we were paired on, let's say like Hecarim pair and Jax pair or Camille, like there's a little bit more to roll for. Right now there's not much to roll for, so we're not gonna like waste our gold for no reason, especially because like I probably haven't been scouting that much because it doesn't matter because I'm just forcing Kalista no matter what, so the scouting doesn't matter too much in order to see like who's hitting what and who has which units. But in this case, somebody's probably also playing Kalista. Like, let's be real here. If nobody's playing Kalista, they're making a mistake, in my opinion. Right? Because there should be at least 2 Kalista players in every lobby because it's free low. If you're solo Kalista, it's free low. Right? Anyways, well, how's everybody's day? Is everybody climbing? Do you guys like the new patch? I feel like the new patch is the same as the old patch. Anyways, now I'm Kalista paired, so maybe I roll a bit deeper, but I think I'm still decently strong, so I don't necessarily think that I have to roll much more for anything else. I got the Milio, so I guess nobody in the lobby is playing Kalista, which is really funny. But I think they just didn't know that it's still good compared to last patch. So, you know, I'm sure by tomorrow everybody's going to be playing Kalista in every lobby. But yeah, we have our Rakan. Rakan's going to do great things for us. I want to make sure that I have, as you can see, I always pair these units a little bit further away. It's the Fiora check, right? I want Fiora, if she dashes, to go to this part of the backline. I don't want her to get reset and go onto my Kalista. I want her to dash towards it. Now, here's very unfortunate, because this is Fiora 2 and I don't have enough damage. So my Kalista is attacking the Fiora, but if you look at this, the Fiora just, like, killed everything and walked towards my Kalista, and the rest of my board walked up. So, you know, it's bad positioning because I could have put the Kalista on opposite side of the Fiora and that wouldn't happen, right? If my Kalista was here and Fiora dashed this way, even if she dashed to the middle, she might dash back. But because my Kalista was close enough, she went this way. It's a little bit awkward. We lose the fight because Rakan really doesn't have that much damage. Even if he splits into 3, it's just he doesn't do much. He's more of just like a tank in a traditional sense. He's not going to clutch up like that. But other than that guy, I feel pretty comfortable with my spot here. This is just a basic Kalista game, right? If you've played Kalista, this is usually how it goes. You lose early game, you make sure you have Guinsoo. If you get double Guinsoo, you're basically playing for like a top 2, top 3. If you high roll any part of the comp, you're basically playing for a first. So this game I high rolled, I'm playing for first. I have Rakan early. Kalista really good items, Rakan really good items. Of course, I have to get in multi-striker. Once I get in multi-striker, the game will be much different. I'm trying to see, because, like, you know, I could roll down for this Kalista, but like I said before, you're not rolling for that much. I am rolling for multi-striker, but it's a little bit uncommon to find like a Jax on level 8. As you can see, it has a very low percentage for 1 cost. So in my head, the way that I'm looking at the game, I'm saying I might as well just try and play towards going level 9 here. It's not always the right decision to go 9. The only reason I want to go 9 is because I want to find Camille. I want to find Camille instead of Jax. I could find Camille on level 8, that's true. I could also roll to find Katarina 3, which I was talking about before. Because 7 Faerie, like I said, the Faerie crown doesn't matter that much. In this case, it matters. In this case, it works out because I have a Diana, right? This Diana is doing so much damage, so the extra damage amp that she gets from the Faerie crown is pretty good. And then here, I'm holding on to these items, right? This might look a little bit weird, and I'm sure you guys might say it. This is because I'm playing for first, right? I don't want to slam Redemption. Redemption is very good, by the way. It's a very good item, especially in this comp. But the reason I don't want to slam Redemption right away is because I want to see how many components I get. If I had an odd number of components, it's a good idea to hold on to the tier, because the tier is another Faerie emblem if you hit a spatula. Now, it's the new patch, so they removed the Conjure Spatula, so that's not something that will happen anymore. It's more if it happens on a carousel. I'm not sure exactly how to hit it, but that's why I was greeting a little bit. It was a lot better to do that in previous patches, but it is what it is. Anyways, we make anti-heal finally because we made a Morello, and our items worked out really well. We have Morello, we have Redemption, so Redemption is going to help out for our front line a little bit. We still have this Tom Kenshin. It's not the greatest thing that we can play around, obviously. And like I said, we don't have multi-striker in. Our board will get stronger with multi-striker. But we didn't roll for this Kalista because we're trying to go level 9. So we're basically like, you know, the way you should always look at it is, if you think that you can play for first, you try and greed to play for first. If you don't think you can make it to a first, then you should just roll earlier rather than later, secure your units, make sure your board is strong, and then just win the game like that, right? And then bleed out to like a better comp. Here I'm basically using my HP as a resource. I feel like if I make it to level 9 and I can fit in multi-striker with this setup, I have a good chance of going first in this lobby based on what I'm seeing from the other people's boards. The only boards I'm really scared of are Faerie boards if they randomly get to my Kalista and kill her early, right? This comp is very susceptible to losing your backline and then losing the round. Rakan doesn't do that much damage. He does not carry. Basically, this comp relies on Rakan living and Kalista living, because Kalista will heal Rakan, Rakan will tank for Kalista, then Guinsoo's will stack up, and then you win the fight. So getting sniped in your backline is very, very scary. So you always have to be cognizant of that. You have to be aware of it. We also have Ascension, which works out really well in this comp because of how it's a stall comp, right? A lot of times the fights last forever. So having them last a little bit longer, I get the damage amp, and I basically win a lot of these fights with the extra damage that I'm getting from Ascension, which is really nice. So here, I'm 90 gold. I'm debating if I level this turn or if I wait till after Carousel. I'm deciding that it's usually better to wait till after Carousel because the interval to level is very good. You want this number, the numerator, you know there's a numerator and denominator. You want the numerator to be divisible by 4, right? Because you can buy, or sorry, you want it so that when the difference between leveling up is a interval of 4, because you want to level with, you can only buy XP in intervals of 4, so you want to level without wasting extra gold spilling over, because if you're going level 9 for example, you're not going to go level 10 in most cases, so that's like a wasted shop roll. So you want to level on the right turn. So ideally you start to know them. If you don't, you can memorize them, like besides like augments that fuck with it. It's pretty easy to just know which levels are the right levels to level on. But you always want to level on like either 5-2 or 5-4, because those ones are the perfect intervals so that you don't waste any gold. But it's basically like every 2 levels or something. I forget. Maybe it's not 5-2. I forget which levels it is. But usually it's like after Carousel round is usually really good, depending on the stage. Here I'm probably just taking an Edge of Night, maybe. I think Edge of Night is pretty good. Also giving me a Katarina. If I got the Thieves Gloves for Diana, I'm down for the Thieves Gloves. Let's see what I end up taking. Yeah, I think it's just Edge of Night. I'm basically playing towards this Camille. Camille with Edge of Night, Faerie Emblem, or something like that seems like a good idea. So I'm going to eventually switch to get Multi-Striker in. Like I said, Multi-Striker is very important, but it's not necessarily the most broken thing. And as you can see how we leveled, and it's perfect. There's no spillover. There's no spillover on an XP bar. That's why we waited a turn to do that. I can upgrade everybody. That's fine. I put an Arcana because I don't know if I'm going to hit the multi-strikers. And I'm basically just looking for Hecarim and Jax. I fit in the Preserver for Chrono. Remember I was saying Preserver and Chrono. If you're playing 7 Faerie, usually you level up and play that. Here, I just have this Tahm Kench. I hit Tahm Kench 2, so it's like, whatever. I'll just play Tahm Kench 2. I really want to get in multi-striker. That's what I'm really waiting on. As soon as I hit multi-striker, I should be like in a good spot to win the game. It's just a matter of finding a Camille as well as a Hecarim. Maybe I missed a Hecarim at one point. If I missed a Hecarim at one point, please, it's fine, you know. I was live. It's hard sometimes. Oh, today I had a hate watcher in my chat. It was great. I banned him instantly. It was so funny. He started like spewing shit. He was calling me dumb. So I guess he came from the YouTube. Just by the way, if you're on the YouTube and you hate watch me, just don't. Like, you know, just watch somebody else. Like, what? Like, y'all are crazy. Like, I don't have enough time in my day to do the things that I want to do in life, right? Like, you have so many breaths that you breathe in life before it's your last breath, and then you're just done, right? You're just in the fucking ground, and who knows what happens after that, right? Like why would you waste your time hate watching? But anyways, you know, that's just me. Maybe that's the culture. But anyways, we hit Milio 2. Now I'm gonna Faerie Emblem this Camille, and I'm gonna Faerie Crown the Camille. Camille does do like a lot of jumping around, so I feel like she has good survivability for the for the Edge of Night. Sorry, not Edge of Night. What is it? She has good survivability for the Even Shroud in a lot of cases. As long as you have Camille too, so she's a little bit tankier. This fight's very scary because this guy has Eternal Winter. I didn't mention it earlier, but it's basically like a hard counter because basically if you attack this guy enough times, then he pauses your unit, and because I'm Gwinsu and I need to attack as many times as possible, like a multi-striker, it's a little bit awkward sometimes. This feels really bad, by the way. I made this Tahm Kench because it's like an upgraded unit is an upgraded unit, but multi-striker is just so important. I kind of have to. So, you know, it sucks, but, you know, -1 gold, and it's a Tahm Kench downgraded to like this dude. But it is just better for my board, so I have to do it. I want to use the remover on the Camille, by the way, in case I hit a better Camille item. Because if I use the remover here, you should always get in the habit of using your remover at the start of the neutral round, because if you don't have a remover on bench, the change that they made is that you get a remover. So it's always worth it to use it on, like, instantly. This is kind of weird because I kind of want either a Katarina item or a Camille item. None of these really strike Katarina or Camille. I'm kind of down to just double Morello. Right? This guy has anti-heal. This guy has anti-heal. She also has built-in anti-heal. I'm kind of down. Like, TBH, I'm kind of down. Right? It's fine. So, anyways. I hit Camille too, by the way, which is really strong. I don't know if I Faerie Crowned this, actually. I should have Faerie Crowned the Camille. I think Camille will do more with the Faerie Crown. Maybe that's just me, though. And that's a small mistake. But now we're just playing for first, right? Now we actually have our board online. Right? The board is this is why the board's so stable, by the way, is because there's each variation that you play with it. You have a lot of time that you can meander with this board, right? I didn't have multi-striker in for majority of this game. Now, I didn't win every single round, but I also didn't get severely punished. It's not like a guaranteed 8th place because I didn't have a Jax on my board, right? The Kalista is so good and the Rakan is so good that these small optimizations, you can kind of skate by a little bit, or for some of these early rounds, and that's something that's really important to note. It's also why in like the previous video, I hit Fiora 2 and I had Fiora items, and I didn't put in multi-striker until I made it to level 9. A lot of it's about being stable, right? Kalista 1 is super stable. The main thing with this comp always is Rakan 2. If you don't have Rakan 2, you probably have to roll more aggressively on level 8. It's because the tanking is more important than the backline. Because if the Kalista gets sniped, she gets sniped no matter what, right? The ramping up of the Gwinsu is enough, even with Kalista 1, to give you damage that is sustainable for the game. But if you don't have Rakan 1 and this guy dies instantly, it's fucking chalked, right? The game's over. There's nothing you can do about it. This time the Fiora didn't kill my backline very fast, so it didn't reset onto my Kalista, which is great. So we win that fight now. This guy with the Eternal Winter, I just have to be careful not to position my Kalista on the same side as the Eternal Winter, so I get my Gwinsu stacks a little bit earlier without getting completely, like, railed. And because it's stage 5, right, I'm not really going 10. It doesn't really matter to me to go 10, so I'm just rolling to buy a charm every single turn, right? I don't know if I'm going to hit 9 Faerie. I don't think that's that big of a deal. Right now I have the Seraphine in because she's upgraded. It doesn't really matter. I'm just playing it for synergy. I could also drop to 5 Faerie like I was saying. The problem is that I'm very close to Katarina 3. So I'm always going to play this for Bastion. I'm always playing this. I'm always playing this. I'm always playing this. Because I'm always playing like these 5 units. I might as well just play one more to get 7. It makes sense here. If you don't have good Katarina items or you don't have a lot of Katarinas, it's often better to drop the Katarina and drop the Seraphine. And then you just play Vertical Preserver. Like I can play Morgana Bard. And then I'm probably more tanky that way than the small amount of benefit that 7 Faerie gives. Right, remember I showed you it's only 5% extra on the Faerie Crown. So if you don't have a holder for like the other Faerie Crown, then that's what I mean. It's kind of a little bit chalked. It's not very useful. I don't even know what I want here. Spatula is interesting. This is what I was saying before, right? That's why if you have an odd number of components, you can hold on to tier, and then you get a Spatula on Carousel, and then you make 9 Faerie, and you just scam the game for free. I didn't hold on to tier because I didn't have a leftover item. It's not like I'm not going to make Redemption. That's just dumb. So I had to make Redemption. I think I do this. Yeah, I noticed it now. I think Faerie Crown is better on the Camille. Because this is just Katarina 2. I don't think it matters that much. I think Camille will do more damage with the thing. We'll do more damage with the crown. So now I just have to beat this board a couple times. This guy's level 10, by the way. Very, very high cap, very, very strong. Multiple 5-cost units. So we'll see how it goes. He has Diana too, which is scary. That's an option. That's a unit that can snipe my backline. And he has Morgana with Radiant fucking TG. Like, hello? I guess he got like Masterworks upgrade instead of the support item Anvil, which I got. So then I'm rolling here. I don't know if this charm is any good, so I'm actually just gonna roll another one. This charm's pretty bad, so I'm gonna roll one more time. If you look at this board though, this board's a little bit awkward. So you can see me thinking. I want to get Katarina 3, obviously. So I'm debating what I do. So I sell the Seraphine, and then I want to buy this charm so I don't accidentally lose to a charm diff. So instead I sell the Lilia. Because Lilia, she's not really doing that much. I'd much rather just upgrade everything. Ideally, I put the Faerie crown on this dude, but I just put Dragon Claw because, you know, this guy's doing mostly AP damage. So if she dives the backline, she should be able to heal up a little bit. The Katarina, at least. So yeah, it is what it is. I don't think I win this fight, but I might win next fight. This fight looks maybe like a charm diff. Like the Gwen reset on my backline. I should have one more chance to go first this game. Even if I don't go first, it's at least a second, which is good enough. Oh no, never mind. My Milio clutched up. Fucking Milio out of nowhere. What happened here? Wait, I want to see that. What happened here? My Milio just fucking clutched up. Zillion bomb into... Yeah, just Zillion bomb, double item, Milio clutched up. Look at that. Damn. It's just a first. But anyways, it's new patch, right? It's new patch. Kalista's still good. Just keep that in mind. If you're not playing Kalista in most of your games, obviously this was the 7 Faerie variation. There is a variation that is 5 Faerie that you do not need a +1 to play. I tried to talk about that at the beginning of the video. So by all means, if you enjoyed that, make sure to check out one of those videos on my channel. And if you're here from the patch notes and stuff like that, yeah, you know, it's still good. Where did I end up? Oh no, I wanted to just have the final board up so I can point it out. Yeah, so still very strong, right? Obviously this is 7 Faerie, 5 Faerie is equally as strong. The Rakan still tanks a lot, and the Kalista, as long as you have good items for her, it's really good. And you can usually play for like a top 4. This should usually be your default comp if you want to climb this patch. Maybe not. Like, we'll see how it evolves. Sorry, this was like the last patch strategy and it still seems to be good. We don't know 100% yet because obviously, like, you know, for example, maybe this guy that's playing Witchcraft with Warriors, maybe there's like a better optimization of Warriors, for example. Maybe this guy has a better optimization of his board that we don't know about yet that will make it like, that will consistently be as reliable as the Faerie board. But the Faerie board is still a good go-to comp. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this was enjoyable, and you know, if people don't like Kalista, you know, try not to take it out on me because, you know, the game is what the game is. I made it to Master now, so don't expect to see much more Kalista. Even when I'm streaming, I'm probably going to be experimenting more because I just don't care now. I'm going to try and like play as many like weird or niche comms to try and like make interesting content. As well as like to try out these things that I hear about to make sure that they're actually good, so I can vet it before people on my channel try it out and lose LP. I'll do it instead, right? But anyways, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and yeah, make sure to like and subscribe if you like it. Bye bye.